In a bid to bring about a change in the banking sector and to address key issues in a diverse spectrum of core banking technologies, the Indian Banking Association presents the IBA Technology Awards, a landmark event aimed at highlighting the critical banking and technology-related issues that are profoundly impacting the banking industry. The banking industry and its rigmarole processes are often under strain from every sector, and a small crack in its foundation can lead to severe repercussions. Taking account of this, the event featured a series of stalls displaying technologies that could secure and step up the processes in the banking sector. Addressing key issues, a panel discussion featuring some of the biggest bankers in the country discussed possibilities in maximizing return on equity in investments in technology. They include Arundhati Bhattacharya, Chairman State Bank of India; Chanda Kochar, MD and CEO ICICI Bank; Arun Tiwari, CMD Union Bank of India; Shikha Sharma, MD and CEO Axis Bank; Pramit Jhaveri, CEO India Citibank; and Abhizer Diwanji, National Head Financial Services EY India.
Start with Chanda. What would you want to talk on? Would you want to talk on technology and control of costs?
Well, actually, Lata, if you're saying, what is the best example or the most exciting example to talk about, then I think I would talk of the fact saying that technology actually helps you create a differentiation vis-a-vis the other players and continues to keep you relevant with your customers. I think that's the most important thing. And what is very exciting currently is the way India is changing with the youth, who are living their lives around mobility, around digitization and around social media. And keeping that in mind, I would actually, in fact, as best examples, most recent examples, cite two. One is what we have just launched, which we've called Pockets, but it is in a way a full digital bank. That is, someone who is whether a customer of ICICI Bank or not can create an e-wallet. The second is where we actually took technology to a little bit beyond banking, and we created one village in India, a fully digital village. So I think these are the kind of things that actually keep you relevant to the customer all the time.
Well, from one private sector bank, let me go to a public sector bank. Mr. Tiwari, on that note, in your bank, where has been the use of technology been most dramatic, if you can illustrate with an example?
From my bank, we were the first one, again, amongst the public sector banks who spent ahead of the curve on the IT platform. First public sector bank to go 100% CBS. And a couple of things cannot be measured in terms of money straight, a cost reduction. If efficiency goes up, it adds to your value proposition, one. Two, talking from PMJDY or going beyond the metro towns or urban towns, perhaps the answer lies in mobile banking. Because otherwise, if we talk about any other channel, it would be then connectivity issue. Mobile banking is one where we are working very hard and trying to do it. Talking innovation, ultimately we deal with the customer. And when customer is innovative and we are not relevant to the times, we will be left behind. Talking about the payment banks, unless otherwise we make some partnerships, somebody else will be eating in that kind of business, which is profitable. What we gave for the first time amongst, again, public sector was the talking ATM. And it's about 1,200 plus ATMs are working around the country, and especially in those areas, eastern part of UP, where it is needed more. That was the greater objective we thought of. And 60% of our transactions are e-transactions. So ultimately, it evaluates somewhere in the efficiency and productivity, therefore.
Pramit Jhaveri wanted to speak on convenience to the customer. What is the outstanding example?
In our experience, obviously, over the last 10 or 15 years, there have been several examples where we've benefited very significantly from technology. Again, on many occasions and in many examples, simply because we had no choice. And then I think from that, you build on those experiences, and quite frankly, you look at the changing drivers, you look at the changing demographics, and you try and improve on that. One is if you look at our credit card business. So we have about 2 million credit card clients in the country, and if you think about it, everyone's on a monthly billing cycle. And several years ago, we used to have every single credit card holder would pay by check. Today we are at a stage where over 90% of our monthly credit card payments are made online. So, I mean, if you think about the dramatic difference that that makes to all stakeholders in that equation, that's very, very, interesting.
To come to you, Shikha, would Payments Bank be a challenge to people like, the legacy banks, Shikha?
I think payment banks, if they bring new technologies and new solutions to customers, could, at least in the early stages, be a great opportunity for expanding the market. And more than a challenge, I think it could be an opportunity. Because despite everything that we talked about on digitization, we still have a lot of transactions being done by cash and check in the country. And if we can actually do away with cash and check, that means that one, processing will be faster, there'll be new solutions which will come to play, new customers will come in, and it will just mean more business for everybody.
Are you getting into it?
Payment solutions, yes.
Payment banks itself.
So I think for us, we have to really think about what does the customer need, and as a bank, how can we be focused on delivering to customer needs and solve customers' problems. So we will look at all forms of business models which will allow us to do that well. But technology, as it creates the problems, also helps you find the solutions.
When we return, the discussion continues. Stay tuned.
When it comes to State Bank, you're not only talking about a bank, you're talking about an industry. So, Mrs. Bhattacharya, I think one of the bigger problems that is faced across all banks is credit quality. To what extent has the banking sector been able to use technology to ensure quality?
If you look at the number of my customers, my advances itself is in the range of 12 lakh crores. And if you look at the number of customers that I'm handling, without technology, there is no way whatsoever in managing that quality. And technology comes in every space, meaning starting from the pre-sanction screening right down to the end when maybe I'm even auctioning the houses. In SBI, for instance, we are using what is called the LLMS, that is the loan life management cycle, which actually looks at an asset from the date of its birth to the date of its death. So the entire process is getting covered over there, and there are sufficient number of triggers where the system itself can generate alerts, system can generate SMSs, system can tell us a number of things. And without this, I can tell you very clearly that there is no way forward. The other thing also, today, the world is full of information. There is so much of information floating out there, which actually you can use in a very positive manner. And that is one of the reasons for this asset quality piece, we started building the early warning system. So it basically scans the environment in order to come up with certain early warnings. And this is again something we could have never envisaged without technology.
Abhizer, what is the biggest, use of technology that you see across banks?
Frankly, of course, convenience and necessity and everything else. But more importantly, we have so much data in our banks. If we had the ability to analyze them, and I think analytics is something that we haven't discussed. It's one of the biggest drivers. One is what information that we have already collected, which is a hell of a lot, frankly, in terms of transaction data, in terms of people's habits. And one is the information that we will collect going forward. So, for example, once direct benefit transfers come in fully, you will know the income pattern of an individual at the lowest level. With somebody like Payments Bank or wallets being offered by existing banks, etc., you will see the payment patterns of individuals. Your ability to figure out how much they actually save, when do they earn and when do they spend will be very apparent. In fact, that will create a very good credit collateral. So financial inclusion, I think, a safer financial inclusion will happen once this credit collateral actually comes into place. And capturing the data, so globally, frankly, we've analyzed something. It takes 80% of your time to actually clean up the data that you already have. Because everywhere the data is crap. Frankly, because the data was not meant to be collected for that purpose. So it's been collected in various rough forms. What you need to do is try and analyze the data. We try to do it for an insurance company. Because in an insurance company, we try to figure out from premium payment patterns, can you actually establish as a derivative what would be their income? Because clearly this is a businessman who possibly shows 10 to 15% of his income really on his balance sheet. But he may be paying a higher premium. How do you make sure that that person gets eligible for a larger credit in his SME than he currently can? But it's almost impossible to clean up that insurance company's data because it's not meant for a credit collateral. It's meant for collecting premiums. But similarly in banks, frankly, we've seen such a history of transactions. I think analyzing some of those and getting it into the right platform, and 80% of the time will be spent on cleaning that data. But and all banks rather, will need to have the sustenance to actually go through that 80% of time, which may not yield results. But after that 20% will. I think frankly that is the biggest way financial inclusion can ever happen.
What do you think will be the next big thing that technology will do to banking in India?
If you think about the last 15 years, the last 20 years, there is no question that India has seen a revolution in the telecom industry. If you think about the next 10 years, and if you think about some of the challenges that are facing our banking industry today, which is, let's just say, more capital, cost of compliance, sometimes, constrained growth, I'm absolutely convinced that we can actually stand at the cusp of a revolution in technology which will have the ability to really drive the industry forward and, maybe maintain the growth rates that we have seen in the past. But we have to be careful not to jump too far ahead and miss some of the simpler, more basic opportunities that exist every single day. So I think we really could well be at an inflection point in terms of a revolution that technology could lead for our industry.
Last word from you, Mr. Tiwari. Is there anything else you foresee technology doing? Or, my point was, I expected the payment bank to be something which others will want to liaise with, simply because it will make it easier to do priority sector lending, won't it?
No, to me, whatever was to be deployed through IT platforms so far has been deployed. But the greater challenge would be going forward financial literacy. Unless otherwise, because each of us talked about unless otherwise, we make at the end of it these accounts transactional. Before that trust coefficient at the level we are talking about, where there is no light, no road, illiterate person. Financial literacy would be the first priority for us going forward for next 1 year, 1.5 years. We'll continue to do our bit in different. That's not a technology. So whatever has been deployed. So to have the return on whatever has been deployed, first let me see where do I stand and whether it would be workable profitably or not. So first thing is financial literacy across the board wherever possible. To what Abza says about data cleaning. We have plethora of information, but how relevant that is. It was just culled. And third thing was your data analytics, because if we want to share that wallet of my customer, I need to know. Greatest example or simplest example is if you go to Google or Flipkart, it tell you whatever you did in the past. So those would be the first 2 or 3 things. Otherwise, what we gave to the customer was a clean account statement with to and buys only, no details. And other thing was perhaps the ATM. Rest all came much later.
When we return, bankers from different organizations get awarded for their exemplary contribution towards technological innovation in the banking sector.
Ladies and gentlemen, I now start the first category, the best use of data, private sector banks. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for ICICI Bank. We now come to the best use of data in public sector banks. Now, the best use of data. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for State Bank of India. Bankers, we now move on to another very important criteria, which is the best initiative to enhance customer experiences. I start with the private sector banks. I am really pleased to announce the name of Citibank as the winner. turn our eyes to the public sector banks, best initiative to enhance customer experience. Now we have two joint winners. The first one, the jury had no hesitation in declaring this joint winner. Congratulations, State Bank of India. The second joint winner. Congratulations, Union Bank of India. We now move on to the risk management initiative category. Private sector bank. The jury decided to give this in to ICICI Bank. Ladies and gentlemen, now we turn on to the public sector banks, best risk management initiative. Congratulations, Punjab National Bank. Ladies and gentlemen, we now turn to a very important category and which is uppermost in the minds of bankers today, and that is financial inclusion. I will first start with the private sector banks. The winner in this category, ladies and gentlemen, is ICICI Bank. We now move on to the public sector banks. Congratulations, Team Bank of Baroda. Ladies and gentlemen, I now draw your attention to one of the very important categories that the jury also spent considerable time doing this. It's the best payment initiative. And I'll start with the private sector banks. So the jury decided to declare the winner, and the winner is Axis Bank. Ladies and gentlemen, we now move our focus to the public sector banks in the best payment initiative category. The clear winner in this category is Union Bank of India. We now turn our attention to the critical award, the Technology Bank of the Year award. I'll start with the cooperative banks. We have two joint winners. Ladies and gentlemen, the first joint winner, Abhyudaya Cooperative Bank. The jury thought that they should award the joint winner in this category to Shamrao Vittal Cooperative Bank. Now, the Technology Bank of the Year, private sector banks. I can see it in the eyes of ICICI Bank that they are the winner here. Now, the Technology Bank of the Year, public sector bank. The jury deemed it fit to give the first runners-up trophy to Union Bank of India. So, Technology Bank of the Year winner, public sector bank, State Bank of India. Can we have a quick photo session of all the winners on stage, please?